Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox. I would like to welcome you to the Sunday Book Review. The Sunday Book Review is the series where I discuss books which impact the compliance practitioner, the legal professional, and the business professional. I hope you will enjoy this episode. The Sunday Book Review is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network. First, a quick word from our sponsor. The Sunday Book Review for March 19, 2023, the Russian Oligarch edition. Today we're going to take a look at books on Russian oligarchs. First up, Rich Russians, From Oligarchs to Bourgeoisie. This is a book by an academician, a university lecturer in psychology and policy. She conducted over 80 interviews with members of the socioeconomic class to look up their circumstances, but also their mindsets and personal philosophies. It provides all the nuance you will need to understand the oligarch character. Next up, Alpha City, How London Was Captured by the Super Rich by Rowland Atkinson. This well-researched book helps you to understand how the plutocratic colonization of London could occur. While the book dwells on the social impacts, forcing the working class and now the middle class out of the city to accommodate the rich, it provides a political and historical context necessary to understand how a close American ally could come to depend so heavily on foreign money. Next up, Butler to the World, How Britain Helps the World's Worst People Launder Money, Commit Crimes, and Get Away with Anything by Oliver Bullough. This book was named by both the New York Times and Economist as one of the best books of 2022, and it looks squarely at the role of Britain in allowing offshore structures and economies to facilitate money laundering and hiding of funds for thieving billionaires worldwide. It really explains how the super rich are changing the world. And our final book is Nothing is True and Everything is Possible, The Surreal Heart of the New Russian by Peter Pomerantsev. This book is by a former producer of Russian reality shows, and it really gives you a guide to the singular madness of modern-day Russia. It really is at the heart of the Russian experience and something that will give you some insight into the Russian character. Obviously, oligarchs are a lot in the news, particularly after the Russian invasion of Ukraine with the various levels of sanctions. And it's something that you as a compliance professional need to be cognizant of, because if you're doing business with a third party that's owned or controlled by, or is influenced even perhaps by a Russian oligarch, you may well be in breach or violation of these new export control sanctions. And of course, this is much more broadly than simply the United States. It includes the United Kingdom and the rest of Western Europe. So it's something that I think you really need to get a handle on, particularly if you're doing business anywhere in Eastern Europe, certainly throughout the Middle East as well. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Sunday Book Review. I would like to tell you about the latest addition to the Compliance Podcast Network. It's Two Gurus Talk Compliance, where, with my friend and colleague Christy Grant Hart, we take a look at some of the top compliance commentary around. It's a long-form, up to 1 hour podcast, but if you're interested in compliance, if you're interested in Christy Grant Hart and myself talking about compliance, this would be a great podcast for you to check in on. It premiered on March 10th on the Compliance Podcast Network. I know you'll enjoy this latest offering. Additionally, we have Data-Driven Compliance, which is a podcast where I look at the use of data in compliance programs. This is perhaps the most cutting-edge podcast I have going right now. And if you're interested in how data can be used, how to structure a data analytics program, what tools are available out there for you, and how compliance practitioners are using data, this is certainly the podcast for you. So check out Data-Driven Compliance, all on the Compliance Podcast Network. The Sunday Book Review is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.